Hey guys, Buckeye Bar Guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, that way anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show. Welcome back, everybody, here on Buckeye Bar Guys, here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Today's date is November 11th, 2021. Happy Veterans Day to any of our veterans that are out in the audience. And we're here to talk about the Purdue game today. So
hell yeah, nothing like Purdue. The only team in the Big Ten that ever seems to have like consistent success of being the underdog and defeating the Buckeyes. So
defeating a lot of other teams. What did they say? It's like they've beaten like 28 teams over the years.
Unranked, they've beaten, I think, 28 like top 10 teams or something.
Yeah. So at least they're ranked. That's a good.
We're not number 2 and they are ranked. Yeah. So we shouldn't be scared.
And we're playing at least in Columbus. It always seems like, knock on wood, that West Lafayette's always our trouble area.
They've given us games in Columbus before, but they haven't won since I think 88 in Columbus. So it's been some time. So Columbus seems like, pretty lucky against them.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll talk about Purdue. Then we'll go around the country and the conference and go through a couple games, and we'll finish it up with our thoughts and score predictions and our player MVP style breakout guys to finish the show up. All right, so Purdue, man, we just talked about it. They've given Ohio State enough fits over our lifetime. Ohio State has been a little inconsistent, especially offensively over the last few weeks. So Purdue has had some big wins this year. They just had a big one against Michigan State. I mean, they're up to 19 or 20th in the rankings.
Tell you in a second. I think it's 19.
So, yeah. I mean, just what's your thoughts going in this game? I mean, I think the Buckeyes are okay, but this is always one that's a little nerve wracking, especially after 2018 is still very fresh in my mind.
Sure, and I get that. I mean, you don't have Rondale Moore on the team like you did then. Of course, you got David Bell. David Bell's a great player, great wide receiver. I don't know if he's better than Jahan Dotson, but he's definitely, in that same class that he would definitely be in the rotation at Ohio State with the guys we have if he was on our team. So he's going to be possibly the best wide receiver we've gone up against this year. So you're going to get to see, how ready the secondary really is. I expect that they're going to do a lot of moving him around, because I don't know if you're putting him on Burke or Cam Brown or just letting them, trying to put him on an island against one of those guys. I don't think that's serving Purdue the best that they could use him going into this game. So I expect a lot of motion with him, try to get him into the slant, try to get him onto a linebacker, get him onto a safety, something that gets him open so he can make some plays. They do run a lot of trick plays here and there. So, you got to make sure you're ready for that, because they're going to try to steal possessions. They're going to try to get a cheap one on you, because that's really that's their chance in this game, is if they can get a cheap touchdown on you, that they go ahead like that. George Karlaftis, I think I'm saying that name right. Their defensive end. This is the best defensive end that Ohio State is playing this year, because Kayvon Thibodeau was not in that game. So he, you didn't get to see the best edge rusher in the country. This is, I would say, probably by far, at least to date, the best edge rusher you're going to see until Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. So this is, that's going to be a hell of a challenge, because you're talking about two areas now where, our cornerback secondary, pass coverage secondary has actually, I don't know if you would consider everyone a strength. Cornerbacks have been pretty strong though.
Yeah.
And then as on or off as the run blocking has been, pass blocking has been really good this year for Ohio State. And I know you might have had a couple instances, the last 2 weeks where they did give up some pressure.
Yeah, still not a lot.
Not a lot. And so these are two areas that they're obviously not your biggest strength because that's wide receiver and probably your passing game in general. But these are really strong areas of Ohio State's game that's going to be tested. And we're going to see just how strong those strengths are going now, as the season gets further. So I think it's definitely an interesting matchup. Purdue can't run the ball. They suck at running the ball. They have no mobility in their quarterbacks whatsoever. So that takes away a little bit of the threat. And then, David Bell is by far their best receiving option as well. So it's kind of like one of those things where, he's going to get his, but you got to make sure the guy can't beat you on offense. And then I think defense, they're good against the run again. So again, you're going to have some, you might have some difficulties moving the ball if you're going to keep calling the same scheme and having the same issues you've had the last 2 weeks. If you get that cleaned up, you might be better off.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker ran for over 100 yards on these guys. So I know Henderson can do it because he's a great, talent, but you gotta have the lanes in front or lanes for him. You got to have, bodies on bodies with those offensive linemen to give him the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Kind of piggyback off something you just said a little bit ago about Bell. I kind of, with the lack of mobility in their quarterbacks and, their offensive line, I think they're all right. I don't think they're anything like special. We probably played better offensive lines, maybe probably a couple weeks ago against Penn State, and probably better ones this year, for sure.
Oregon and Minnesota for sure.
Yeah, those ones. I just think that especially the way our defensive line's been playing, that they're going to get after this guy they're going to get after the quarterback. And so I do have a feeling, Dotson started having a little bit more success in the second half against us. And that's when they started moving him around and they started running a lot more slants with him to at least try to get him, get the corner behind him and him, a linebacker or safety in front of him where he can possibly make plays. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of options down the field for Bell, but I could see them, like what you said, trying to move him more into the middle of the field because they're probably going to try to, especially early in the game, maybe to try to put Ohio State a little bit back on their heels to try to get early completions to him. And the best way to do that is probably to go against the middle of our defense.
Yeah. And I don't know, because, a lot of times you come out and you kind of, I don't want to say disrespect a part of a team's game, but where their weakness is. And sometimes that team tries to show you it's not a weakness and they get some success on that because you're not looking.
Yeah.
I don't see Ohio State getting ran over to start the game because they're not ready for it. Their defensive line is going to be able to hold its own. And that's the one thing the linebackers are actually doing is they can stop the run. So if they notice that, they're going to be fine to get up there and stop it. Our secondary, I don't think any of them really have problems making contact.
No.
So I don't think they can run the ball on Ohio State. I'm not really scared about that. I don't know what as far as passing, what they can do. And like you said, I think our defensive line is going to be able to get after the quarterback, and because they have been the last couple of weeks. So, the secondary stops Bell just for an extra second.
No.
Of course, you have the slot receivers, have the tight ends, have your people accounted for, but you make them just hold it for an extra second and your defensive line's teeing off on people recently.
Yeah.
So you got to keep doing that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That get the pressure on him and, at least make the quarterback feel it that, it's not going to be a nice fluffy game for him, that he's gonna get hurt and their he'll make some bad throws and trying to get the Bell. How are their some of their other down the field weapons, their backup their other receivers and their tight ends? Because I'm assuming, if some of those positions aren't maybe the best in the world, maybe the idea is with Bell, put an actual man on him and then maybe play the zone with the rest of the defense, do a kind of a spot man just on him. And
so, they use their tight ends a lot. So Bell has 64 receptions on the year. The most pass catches by their tight end is 36. So little less than half what he does, but then they have another tight end. He has 15 receptions. Another one has 4. So they do use their tight ends a lot. The second highest receiving output, though, as far as receptions on the year, is 36 for 368 yards. So, I mean, that's about half of what Bell's doing. So they don't really get the ball, and that's Milton Wright. He's a big guy. They don't really get it to him, as nearly as much as what they do Bell. Bell's their dude, but they do use the tight ends a lot. And, that's.
But the one thing to say
they can pass. They throw on people. That's what they do.
The one thing to say about the tight ends, though, is that unlike in years past, since they went to the zone, it seems like, they're still giving up completions to tight ends, but, I always remember the 2017 game against Iowa, just how much their tight ends killed us. Penn State's tight ends at different times have really hurt them in the past. They haven't really been torched by any tight ends this year. They've given up completions, but that zone lease keeps guys in front of you. And really the biggest issues that they've had in the passing game has just been when, the safety kind of gets put on the island, and
sometimes the tight ends this year, when our defensive line's not getting any pressure and the quarterback has that extra second, and linebackers lose people in coverage. That's about all I've noticed, because I know it happened a few times against Oregon. Penn State, it happened a bunch against that. The tight ends did kind of get up in the middle, but
they didn't. They didn't kill them though, and I think they could have did a lot worse damage in years past. Tight ends have hurt us at different times, but so I think the defense has just been, it's more slotted to go against that style of passing game. I'm more concerned about getting guys like Bell, somebody that's got maybe more speed into the middle, where, again, where possibly a safety might have
a weakness there.
Might have to make let him make his move before the safety is ready and gets duked out of his mind. It's happened, a few times.
Yeah, but also,
it happens.
You gotta be careful. You gotta be, cautious about your single high safety looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. So defensively, I think we match up pretty well. I know that we're gonna, that they haven't enamored anybody with running the ball. They got some other pass and options outside of Bell, but it's primarily Bell and kind of everybody else. And I think if they can somewhat keep him contained, and this is definitely the best corner she's went up against all year. I don't
know there's any argument about that.
Denzel Burke is still kind of mind boggling that he's just a true freshman, that he still has 2 more years after this, really, to keep on improving. Cause he's already one of the best lockdown corners in the country right now. And it's just going to be scary to think about him over the next 2 years. But it'll be an interesting challenge for sure for him. This is another guy that's going to challenge him, but he held his own very well against Dotson. Like I said, they didn't really start getting any really momentum with him until the second half, when they started trying to slant him more away and get him into
get him away from Bell or Burke. Excuse me.
Like in the first half, the couple times they tried to go down the field with him, Burke was with him the whole way, and so it'll be interesting how that goes.
Like I said, I don't think it best suits Purdue to try to go, Bell against any of Burke, Brown, or Banks. I don't think that helps them with their ultimate goal of winning this game.
Well, I agree. Trying to think what else I want to touch on the defense. I think a lot of this is kind of out the last several weeks. I think if the defensive line continues to get pressure, that it's just, they're always going to be in a better position than not. If you put this quarterback on his butt, get a few sacks like they've been getting, which will probably mean they'll cause a few turnovers here and there, possibly. Mm-hmm. That, we still have opportunities for some that, I think that defensively puts us in a really good position to win this game on that side of the ball. We'll begin right here to talk about the offense, which is going to come down to more their, how consistent they can be. But, anything else before we get there, you want to talk about Purdue's offense before we move on to the other side of the ball?
I just think, I don't want to call them a one-trick pony, because they're not, but they pass the ball. They're not a good running team. And I think really, your only threat, I think, to actually lose this game is you just let David Bell kill you, or at least let him keep them in the game offensively, and then someone else can score somewhere else. So, I mean, you got to limit what he does. He's going to get some production, but you can't let him just go crazy and keep them in this ball game.
I mean, I expect him to get a touchdown. Like, I mean, I think that's not far fetched. I mean, I think he'll score. I mean, he's a really good receiver. It's going to be hard to keep him out of the end zone, but I just think if Ohio State's offense, starts playing up to the level that they kind of expect, Purdue's strengths are not going to bode well for them, because if Ohio State can start getting some points in front of them, Ohio State's defensive line will start, you're gonna
have to throw the ball, and I think they're gonna have to throw anyways, because they can't run.
Yeah. All right, offensively. So it seems like Garrett Wilson's going to be back from everything we're hearing. That it sounds like he's having a good week. It doesn't even look like, I heard it didn't even look like he was off a week. So, I mean, I guess that's a good sign. We're going to be full strength. And
yeah, I mean, you need it. It just helps out. It helps your offense so much more. I mean, you definitely missed him last week. Yeah. No matter, what struggles you might have had in the run game. That's just an extra guy that you could have thrown the ball up to. And we know how special he is as a receiver. Yeah. And they also, they've done a lot of things in the past with trying to get him out to the edges, using like jet sweeps or quick screens to him, that he's gone for, really big positive yardage. So, I mean, they definitely missed him in their gameplay last week. So, yeah, I mean, that's huge, because you want to be at full strength. And so I'm looking at their defensive, their per games. So they give up about 329, so 330 a game. Ohio State gains 541 a game, which I think Ohio State's they've gotten that on everybody. So I'm not sure that that's something Purdue can really slow down. Pass yards, they give up 185. Buckeyes get 352 a game. Again, I don't know if you can get 352 on these guys, or they're only giving up 185, but I'd imagine it's probably end up closer to 300 than 200.
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess. And they give about 144 rush yards per game. Ohio State gets right now averaging 189. See, Purdue averages 77 yards rushing games. So like I said, they're not good to begin with. And we have a pretty stout run defense right now.
I think that going off just kind of at this point in the season, you got to assume that Ohio State's going to get 400 yards regardless of who they play. Offensively, I mean, their offense is pretty much good for 400 yards plus.
I think so.
I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at. So, I expect them to easily get to that point, and then how much Purdue can minimum, not let them get crazier above that is kind of where this game is going to fall, in my opinion. Now,
yards mean nothing without points.
Yes, and we've known that this year. Oregon specifically, I think got 5,000 yards in that game
and 28 points and lost.
That's what it felt like. And the last couple of weeks, we've relied a lot on the field goals. So, I mean, the biggest things obviously coming into this game is, can we get any other production outside of field goals in the red zone? Do we have more creative passes that maybe we can throw a pass on first down? Something that, just to get points, can the offensive line, play with some toughness when they get down into that area to open up a hole? I mean, that's just, that game, when you get down in that part of the field, it's just whoever wants it more. And, and like the offensive line just seems like, it's not your normal. I mean, run blocking can be pretty intense, but red zone run blocking is far more intense. Like, it's literally, you get on the guy and you got to push him.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even trying to open up a seam, because you're going to have so many guys. The minute that it looks like it's a run, you're going to have so many guys crashing down. So in that situation, do we try some play action maybe in the early downs in the red zone? Just anything to get points, to get some confidence going.
Well, you got to know like your blocking and scheme to eliminate what's going on with the backside end, because this is not the guy that you want him to have free reign onto Henderson.
Yeah.
That no one's there blocking him on, a third, fourth, and short, whatever. And there's no one gets a body on him. He's just allowed to come down the line and stuff him. So you got to, if you don't have that figured out, how to, make him honest, you got to go with a different run plan then, I think.
Whether it's straight up running at him or a counter run at him, going to the weak side, I think, especially when you get down to the red zone, whichever side of the field he's lined up to, they got to run the ball to him. And, that way, at least you got the blocking going at him.
Right.
And because, they just have not performed against backside.
He's a big, strong end, though. So that's a challenge in itself. But I do like the size of our tackles, being able to go at it. But he's not a small guy. I mean, he's, I think, 6'4", 6'5", 275 pounds, something like that. So he's a big, strong end.
Do they run that's big for.
I think they
run just a straight 4.
I think they run a 4-man front.
Okay. That just seems really big for a Purdue defensive end. You're not used to them growing them that big out there.
Maybe he's a townie or something. Maybe that's why he went there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy's got, I think in his career, I think he's at like 12 sacks or something in his career. So, I mean, he's a good end. He's going to be one of the best ones that, we're playing this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta be ready to go at him. You gotta be ready, for the pass blocking. They're a good run stop team also. So
yeah, their defense.
You gotta figure that out.
Their defense is definitely arguably the more strength of the team, I would say. I mean,
birthplace, West Lafayette, Indiana.
Yeah, they grew him out there on the farm.
Called that one.
But I would say that that's just the biggest thing. Can we get the running game going and can we score points in the red zone? And I think if they can get those two things going coming down the stretch in November, then you start feeling a little bit better about the offense again. I know that these 3 receivers and Rucker can have a field day against any defense. Right. I'm not worried about that. It's just the same thing that I was just saying about Purdue. You start getting into these games coming down the stretch. If you're going to be one dimensional, it's just, you're leaving yourself up for you're leaving a very big threat out there that, you could lose a game because teams get off. It's like shooting the 3 in basketball. If you live by the 3, die by the 3. It's the same thing in football. You live by the pass, you die by the pass. And there's just, it's the joke that, pretty sure it's Woody. I mean, maybe he got it from somebody. There's only 3 things that happen when you pass the ball, and 2 of them are bad. Now, I'm not saying let's go back to 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but at the same time, that's a true statement. And
oh, sure, yeah. I mean, incomplete or interception. I mean, that absolutely. I want to see though the passing game get back to the point where you can hit some bombs on people, because that's been something that's kind of, and I don't know if that's just, we got spoiled with the accuracy of, Justin Fields, and we're not remembering back. Cause I mean, Dwayne didn't have a ton of huge touchdown passes, but he did.
It doesn't even seem like, granted, over the last few weeks, we haven't played a lot of man-to-man defenses, and the crossing routes are a little easier against man defenses than they are against zone defenses, but it doesn't even seem like we're running a lot of crossing routes anymore. It's like, the 2 elements over the last several years that have been the best out of their passing game, it's like, neither one of them they're showing.
Yeah, but I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba's just going off on everybody. So
yeah,
it is what it is. And it's an extension of the run game with those short passes. I would love to be able to, hit a couple deep ones on these guys, really, stretch them out and just kind of let people remind people that Ohio State's offense is, legitimate. They're high powered and they can score from anywhere.
Yeah. It kind of, and I don't know if it's this week.
And use Henderson out of the backfield as a pass catcher too.
I don't know if it's this week. It might be against the Michigans, one of them, but it seems like they're kind of setting them. They're setting them up eventually, in one of those kind of bubble screens or whatever, that one of those blocking receivers are going to release here, and that's going to be wide open for a touchdown down the field, because they've been running those a lot, and you got to figure that's somewhere in the cards.
Well, just make sure you have the right personnel out there, not Mitch Rossi as your screen receiver. I mean, there's always so much the guy can do. That's not one of them.
Yeah. Henderson. So Henderson Williams. I mean, we kind of talked about this the other day. I do want to see Mayan more.
I think for where they're struggling at, I know like you got to get bodies on people. You can't just have free reign at your running backs, but I think Mayan is a better change of direction behind the line of scrimmage than what Trey Henderson is.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe there's not enough to go on for me to believe that, but the little I've seen of Mayan, I've seen him make plays on counters before that. And maybe they need to call more of that with Trey. I don't know, but
I think they would probably, and granted, they've played some tough run defenses, but you're still getting positive yards on these runs. And I think that they're just going away from them too quickly. And I kind of would like to see that, whether you have to do it with two guys or you can do it just with one, I'd like to see them starting to get up to closer to maybe 30 carries, and then bring the production of the passing game down just a tad, just to get the running game going. Because I think the passing game will be there regardless of whether you throw 20 passes or 40 passes. 40 passes is getting kind of ridiculous.
Well, it's 50 that, what we're getting into.
Like, I don't want to be 40 plus at all. I mean, if they can get to 30-30.
Yeah. And I don't need to be 30-30, it could be like 35 passes. Even up to 40, I'm okay with, but when you're going, like you said, like over 50 passes, so that's too much. And how this offense is going to go to the next level is you got to figure out the run game and the red zone offense.
Yeah.
That's what's going to really open up and release that passing offense for the rest of the year.
Because, you get into the playoffs. And granted, outside of Georgia, nobody has been like overly spectacular at different points of the season. I can make an argument that Georgia's really the only complete team right now. But if you play Georgia, you got to still show some sort of resemblance of a running game. You got to make attempts at it. Like, you can't just be like, well, we're going to throw it.
We're not going to be able to run on them. We're going to have to throw. Like, you're going to have to make, because you're not going to be able just to be one dimensional and throw on Georgia.
Yeah. So,
and that's not to give them too much.
And I'm
respect.
not saying that, obviously we're not playing Georgia this week, but they got to start acting like, they are playing Georgia. You're Ohio State. You're competing against yourself and the big boys around the country. It's not so much that they're playing Purdue this week. Purdue's just the opponent. You got to beat Purdue, but you're also playing Ohio State. You're also playing Georgia, Alabama, Cincinnati, Oregon.
You got to get better each week because you got to be ready to play these guys at the end of the day if you get to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Offensive line. So, I definitely want to touch on the offensive line that,
poor Thanos, man, the bad sausage biscuit.
Yeah. And then Ryan Day said there was a couple bad biscuits going on.
So a lot of guys weren't feeling well that morning. Hopefully it was bad biscuits and they weren't getting into any extracurriculars at Memorial.
I like our friends out there in Lincoln, but was there bad flour used? Like, what's going on? Bad eggs made in those biscuits? Come on, guys.
I know seems like a cheap shot, but
I'm just joking. I'm sure it's just I don't know. We've all had.
Maybe they went out and had fun in Lincoln and they're saying it was bad breakfast. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case.
I don't think that's happened under any Ohio State coaches' watch that people are coming into Saturdays not in their best outside of, the possible food poisoning.
Yeah. Maybe it was just too much food. Maybe they had too many sausage biscuits.
I feel like, DeJuan Jones can put down a couple sausage biscuits.
I just remember, and just a quick funny story. I remember my freshman high school football team, a couple of the guys before a game, it was a Thursday game. We had a Burger King across the street from the game was like at 4:30 and they went over and slammed a little too much Burger King and they
had to take care of their business like DeJuan did.
Didn't do well. It was a bad game. They would know everybody was a little too sluggish with that one. And Coach was pretty upset about us that we went to Burger King before the game.
Probably had to run hills afterwards.
All right. So offensive line. If they go, it seems like at this point they're going with the 4 tackles in the center that unless somebody gets hurt, that they're not going to.
I just don't think they're going to change it at this point.
And you can't, I mean, last week we thought that they were just doing some sort of crazy rotation. And I'm like, and then we realized that it was just that maybe
Dwan's not feeling well.
Dwan wasn't feeling well. So hopefully, that I honestly, I just think they just got to start getting into, they got to start really busting their chops. I mean, like, you guys it's got to be pride now at this point. Get out in front of these guys and bury them into the ground. And Ohio State defense or offensive lines over the last several years have done that. Got to do it too.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta know your assignments in the run blocking game.
Yeah, that's kind of,
especially on short down or short yardage downs. Like, you gotta be able to get a push. Like, you gotta convert for first down.
Yeah.
So you gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's kind of like been little. We kind of talked about that. I think the last episode is just some of those down blocking that they're leaving that outside guy, and it's like, somebody on the end can't be down blocking. Like, they have to kick that guy out,
right?
And whether it's a backside pull or a frontside pull, whatever, the gal, and even if everybody else is down blocking and you're trapping that guy on the end, whatever. I mean, somebody's got to hit him, and
I mean, I still believe it's just bad motion for if you don't have a quarterback that's any threat to run the ball.
Yeah,
and I
agree with that.
I'm not saying anything about he needs to run the ball. I'm saying that they got to stop calling the play if he's not going to run the ball. I don't care. I think you can be very successful as a running team without having a running quarterback, because we've seen it our whole life. Now, of course, Urban Meyer has always made the point that a running quarterback evens the numbers, because you're always one down. But now that if your quarterback's an offensive threat in short yardage, that evens the numbers. So it's like you're taking that away by, calling this play when he's not a run threat whatsoever, because with even that motion slows the play down too.
Yeah. The thing is, and I
feel like I'm yelling.
And I understand Urban's point on that stuff, but also if you just run out of the pistol and you're just doing kind of straight handoffs out of the pistol, and you kind of angle your runs to one side of the offense line to the other side of the offense line, it's still an even thing. You're still going to take somebody on the back sides out of the play.
Right.
So, you have numbers. So, there might be somebody free over there, but doesn't mean that they can come over and do anything about it. So a gazillion NFL teams and a bunch of college teams, they know they can run the ball without having to, have the running back come in front of the quarterback.
Well, without having a running quarterback.
Yeah. And so, and then, if they decide to do a couple runs here and there with Stroud, or if he decides to take off with one, great. That's just an added thing that you're confusing a defensive with.
And I know Ryan Day doesn't like calling design runs with his quarterback, but if you're going to have that in the playbook and use it as, dominantly as you do, you have to then call every now and then, you got to call a design QB run with the same action.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be a read.
QB sneak would be fine every now and then. Just run him up under center, and you put Maya and Teague in the game and just be like, don't spear him, but just push him forward.
But what that end is just not respecting anything. And it's not, and then they just know that there is absolutely no chance for him to hold on to the ball. And so why even have the play to try to make it look like he could possibly hold on to the ball when he's never going to? So the only ways you can solve that, like you said, have a guard try to kick out, but I still think it's too short yardage to even do that. I don't know. Bring Ruckert in motion and have him just knock the guy on his ass when the ball snaps, or at least chip him enough to get him off balance.
Yeah. There's different things they could do. And part of it's getting, and the only time that they should be running to where the running back comes in front of the quarterback is when, they try, or anything like that. Those front handoffs is when they want to do one of those, do a sweep out to the outside.
Like the wide zones that they used to do.
I would love, I think Trevion would take one of those to the house if he gets out in front of it. I don't get why they haven't really ran that so much as like they've done in the past, but that's what they should do.
If not, go under pistol, or go, with the pistol look.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's how they should do it.
Or do a pitch. If the running back's over to your right, don't have him cross in front of you. Take the handoff, pitch it out to his end. And, the end's already crashed down. So he's not there anymore. And now Henderson has the outside of your offensive line. He has the sideline to work with.
Yeah. And, maybe they could start, wouldn't maybe be a bad idea and kind of just what you're talking about here, So they crash down and, Henderson's there, but run Garrett Wilson behind the quarterback and have him to pitch the other way. And, that maybe that crashing down defensive end might start thinking a little bit more about like, well, you can start doing motions then with the receivers and be like, all right, like maybe
that would be interesting to
slow him down some just so,
right. Exactly. I mean, he's crashed down to take out Henderson and now you got the open pitch to Wilson.
No.
And who knows what he could do with the open field.
You could still get a short yardage play with that. I mean, he could go
I like something like that. Just be creative. But what they're doing without having any threat whatsoever of a QB holding onto that ball, it doesn't help them.
Yeah.
So the play is just worthless without anything else added to it.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that. All right. Anything else here before we get into the games this week on offense you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I feel like we can have a rebound on offense. I really do. It's been a couple confusing weeks with the run game, but I got to imagine that, they're really trying to stress it this week. And like we had said going into the last game, maybe the big, the 3-man front, maybe that was just not a good game, first game after the Penn State game, that it was, confusing for them, whatever it may be. So I think this one, I think this will be okay. I think they'll get better. Actually, go back to that game real quick though. Did you see Frost got like a year extension, but his whole offensive staff got fired?
No, that happened
over the week. Yeah.
God, I've been so busy this week with work. I just haven't really paid a lot of attention to that. That's crazy,
right? Like they let he stays, but like pretty much everyone else got scrapped from the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, their offense sucks. So it happens.
I wish they could be a good team.
That just feels like you're delaying the inevitable, though.
There's other. This is not a Nebraska podcast. There's always been some feelings I've had out there. I think that they could be a better football team if it wasn't for the Big Ten kind of has screwed them with that, bringing more Texas into the conference.
Sure, but I mean, if you're a good coach and a good team and not to go after Nebraska, but you got 6 1-possession losses and 1 9-point loss. You figure out a way to win one of those games. And I'm glad it wasn't against Ohio State, but
definitely true. All right.
So no, I think we're good with the offensive side for Purdue.
So, all right. Pitt's playing North Carolina tonight. Pitt at home, 6.5-point favorite. I think they'll probably cover.
Game doesn't start for 40 minutes. This will not be up on time for the game.
These are the predictions. You can see how wrong we were in the morning.
Pitt's given 6.5. I'm going to say North Carolina wins outright because why not?
Tomorrow, I'm assuming, Cincinnati's a 23-point favorite, man. Vegas is kind of being kind of generous to Cincinnati for as bad as they've kind of played over the last few weeks.
South Florida sucks.
I know, but some of these other teams weren't that good either. And
on a Friday night, you know what? I'm going to say I don't think Cincinnati will lose, but I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they'll cover that. I think it's going to be anywhere from like 18 to 20-point win. Who knows, though? If it's another touchdown again, I better not hear the crap from Cincinnati as long as Ohio State keeps winning.
Does Alabama play for the rest of the year? Tomorrow's their or this weekend's their chicken, you know what?
Chicken crap game. It's they get Arkansas the following week and then Auburn. So they changed it up this year. They gave themselves a pretty tough last couple games. I mean, however you think about Auburn, if you think Auburn's a tough game or not.
So, we're not going through that one. I just noticed it. All right. So then big noon is this. Oklahoma's a 5.5-point favorite. It's in Baylor. Is this the week that Oklahoma finally gets it?
No, I think they'll figure out a way to win at the end. I don't think they're covering. I think it'll be less. I think it'll be like a 3-point victory, but I think they still win.
I think Baylor beats them.
I would love to see it.
I think Dave Aranda gets a defensive.
Shut those guys up already.
Like, I think he's gonna find a. Now it's the Big 12 defense. I mean, it could be 35, 28 point win. But
They've had some good defensive games this year.
I think Baylor's gonna beat them.
I would love to see it.
Mississippi State 5.5 point dog against Auburn at Auburn.
I don't like either of these teams. I'm going to say Auburn wins because they're at home. They cover.
Does Tennessee have any chance? I mean, they're better this year than I was thinking. They need a win to be bowl eligible. Or 20-point dog to Georgia.
Well, I don't think they have any chance to win the game. And I kind of stole this from the college football nerds, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but Tennessee is going to be the best passing offense they've seen to date. So we're going to see some things about Georgia's secondary this week and possibly give them, their first real test and see, kind of how they respond to a team that could possibly throw the ball on them. But no, I don't think they'll win. I think Georgia will cover.
All right. Let's see what else. What other ones I want to hit? A&M Ole Miss. A&M is at home or on the road. They're 2.5 point favorite.
Terribly overrated teams. I'm going to say A&M though. I think they're a tougher team. So I
agree with that.
They'll go into Oxford to win. Oxford, right?
I forgot that I did say Georgia's. What I thought about Georgia. I think actually they're going to cover.
I think they'll cover.
I don't have any faith in Tennessee whatsoever.
No, and you shouldn't. I mean, no one should have any faith in Tennessee. So I think, again, they might have the best offense Georgia's played to date, but yeah, nobody should have any faith in Tennessee that they can do anything.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you that A&M
covers
is going to cover, but it's good.
Who knows though?
2.5 points. I mean, yeah, Ole Miss could beat them, but I'll say A&M on that one. I do want to hit Notre Dame, Virginia. So Notre Dame's a 5.5 point favorite.
Seems low, right?
At Virginia. Virginia's 6-3. They're not
even on the road. I don't go Virginia, man.
I think this is going to be the game. Virginia's going to beat them. And there's been some points
at home. It's a night game.
There's some points in this year where I thought Notre Dame was a little overrated. They've played a little bit better the last few weeks. And Cincinnati definitely needs them to keep winning. And, but I think that could really hurt Cincinnati into a point that if Notre Dame loses another game, and I think they're going to lose this week.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I like that. Virginia outright wins.
And then the last two games I want to hit top 25 matchup: NC State at Wake Forest. Wake's a 2-point favorite. What do you think here? Is this one actually a conference game?
I don't know. That was crazy. I didn't even realize that was a thing. I don't buy into Wake Forest as a football team, so I'm going to say NC State wins this game.
I think I'm going to go with Wake because it's only 2 points that they'll cover. All right, and then Washington State at Oregon. Washington State's 5-4. Oregon's a 14-point favorite. They've had some games this year where they've been extremely sloppy. I mean, there were some very questionable things last week against Washington. Can the Cougars do it?
I don't think so. I think Oregon, slips by again. I think it's going to be another close game for them, though. I think, this is going to be another one possession, one score game. They're 14-point favorites. I think, I'm going to say, especially after dark, wild crap happens. Football after dark. So I'm going to say Oregon wins, but it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're going to win too, but I don't think they'll cover. All right, let's pull up Big Ten schedule for this weekend. We're loading up. Loading. Yeah, so why is this taking so long?
I got it up.
Okay. Well, you might have to. Oh, here, I got it. Okay. We'll do Michigan, Penn State before our game. Northwestern, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 24.5 point favorite. They've really kind of bounced back here. Some coming down the stretch, and there's the Big Ten East. Hopefully, the Buckeyes are they going to be playing the Badgers come championship game time?
I'm not ready to commit to that yet. I'll say they win, but I'll go Northwestern against the spread.
They're not showing Rutgers. Or I mean, I would say I don't think Wisconsin's just not a team that I think can really beat somebody by 24.5. So I think they'll win, but I do agree with you. Now, I don't think it's going to necessarily be a close game. I think Wisconsin will win between like 14 and 17, but not 24.5. Rutgers at Indiana. No prediction on this one from Vegas. What's your thought?
Rutgers on the road. Indiana hasn't won a game in conference yet. I don't think they will this week.
And that quarterback, if that's kid still the...
I don't even know who's playing this week for Indiana. They just, no.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Minnesota, Iowa.
God, that's an interesting game.
Iowa's a 5-point favorite. It's at Iowa. What do you think?
Well, they're not going to lose another one in Kinnick this year, right?
No.
I think Minnesota plays people close.
I have a weird feeling 5 is not a lot necessarily, but it just seems like a 1 to 3 point win.
Yeah.
I actually think Iowa will win.
But Minnesota against the spread.
I think that
I can see that
Iowa won't cover that game. Maryland at Michigan State. Michigan State's a 13-point favorite coming off the loss last week. That game is in East Lansing. I think Michigan State will cover because every time they get going in the season, I'm like, is this the year Maryland finally shows, yeah, we do have a lot of talent, which they do, and we're going to actually start competing. And
Mike Locksley.
And they don't. And it's same with Etzel and the one guy in between them and everybody else.
The one guy in between them. Are you talking about the coordinator from Michigan?
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now.
The guy that killed a guy, right?
He didn't actually kill him, but no, he turned his head.
I know. I can't. Why can't I think of his name?
I don't know. Because Ohio State destroyed them when he was the defensive coordinator in 15.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think Maryland's in a really bad spot. That one, they got a ton of injuries, and two, they're playing Michigan State after a loss. And Michigan State is probably going to be a little peeved that they're 7 and not 6 right now. And I think it's going to be a bad night for the Terrapins.
Game before us on ABC noon at Penn State. Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite. What are you thinking here?
I think Penn State's got to be able to stop the run, which they did semi-okay against Ohio State, but they didn't do very well against Illinois. I think Penn State's got to be able to run, which they haven't done for some time.
No. Yeah, if they can't get a running game going, it's going to be really hard for them on this one.
I don't think Michigan's going to be able to throw on them unless they go to J.J. McCarthy. And even then, I don't know if they can really throw on them. And I think Dotson can make plays on Michigan because I don't think Michigan's secondary is very good.
Yeah, we haven't really seen them really. This will probably be their real big challenge this year against somebody in the
like legit, like
somebody who could really
real talent. Yeah.
Like that's like one of the biggest question marks I have on Michigan's defense is how good their secondary is. They haven't really been challenged, in my opinion, in the passing game this year.
I mean, I think you can get to Clifford because, Ohio State did. Mm-hmm. Michigan's defense is probably a little bit more aggressive than what Ohio State's is, and Hutchinson's a good player. I think it's going to be close. I don't think Michigan's going to be able to blow them out, but they've surprised me before this year. So, but 1.5's not much. I'll say Michigan wins on the road because it's not a night game. So I'll say they win and I'll say they cover.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I actually think this is going to be I'm interested to see what the over under is on this game because I think this is going to be a low scoring game. This has that feeling that because I think both defenses will be able to control the other one's offenses. I just think Michigan probably has a little bit more weapons offensively.
48.5 points. That's not a lot for these.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a lot, but I could really see this game being like a 24-17 game.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think Michigan wins, but I think they win somewhere between 3 and 7. It'll be kind of a low scoring game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Purdue, Buckeyes. Somehow the Buckeyes are 21-point favorites. Vegas.
You're scared of that number?
I don't like it. Who's your offensive guy this week?
I want to say Garrett Wilson because he's back. I'm not gonna do it though. I'm gonna say Trevion Henderson. They're gonna get the run game going, and I'm gonna keep going with that, even though I haven't really the last couple of weeks. But I think they're gonna make it emphasize on trying to get that moving this week. Do some different things to get him into space, and I think he will be your offensive player of the game. And it's gonna be something like 100. Let's say 150 yards on the ground, a couple touchdowns, maybe another touchdown, receiving.
I like Henderson. I'm going to go with last week's star. I think Jackson Smith, Najibba have those syllables.
Jackson Smith is good.
Those syllables get me every time. It's not like I don't know it. It's just not good with the syllables, especially when how long is killing me. But anyway, so I just think he's not going to get 200 something yards receiving with Garrett Wilson back, maybe, but he's becoming such a threat. And
guy is the best route runner, and his hands are magnificent.
And I always say, when you just have a guy like that in the middle of the field, he's going to have an advantage over everybody. And there's no way Purdue has somebody in the middle of the field that's going to be able to match up against him.
No, his short yardage route running is just that you can't stop it.
Yeah. He's getting 100 plus again. He's going to get a touchdown or two, and I just think he's becoming that dominant receiver right now.
Well, he needs what, like 120, I think, to get to 1,000.
Yeah.
Let's see, 112 to get to 1,000. You think he gets to 1,000 after today?
Yeah,
or after this game?
Yeah, I think so.
And you need about 63, it looks like, for Henderson to get to 1,000. You think both are at 1,000 after this game? You think Henderson has less than 63 yards?
No, they're both getting 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like the doubt on your face when I asked that.
I was thinking about something else. No, definitely. He gets over 63. I think he's going over. He's getting over the century mark this week.
I think so too.
Jackson Smith's the guy. Your guy on defense.
I'm going to say, because I think they're going to be the real difference maker. Again, will be the defensive line. I think it's going to be Zach Harrison. A couple sacks, QB hurries, maybe a tip ball that ends up in an interception. So that's my guy.
I like that because I've been going. Defensive line's really been balling out lately, and they're becoming the defensive line that we knew that they were. I'm actually going Denzel Burke, and it's not necessarily that I think he's going to get an interception or anything like that.
You think he's putting David Bell on Burke Island?
I just think David Bell will do some stuff. I said earlier, I think he will get a touchdown. I don't think he's going to be that big of a factor.
Yeah. I mean, kid hasn't given us any reason to doubt him yet.
So yeah,
I think that's a good one because of who he's going against. And that's going to ultimately probably be the difference, if Bell can do a lot or not. So yeah, I like that a lot, but I got to go with Zach Harrison.
All right. What's your score?
I don't think the Buckeyes are going to get to 40 again. I really don't. I'm going to say I do think they'll get 4 scores this week though. So probably another 3 field goals. So what is that? 37 to 21.
I think, I'm not picking a blowout.
So they don't cover.
I'm in the same boat as you. But I think it's going to be, I think they start fixing some of the stuff that we're having issues. I think they get a couple red zone touchdowns, and I think they start looking a little bit better running the ball. I'm going to say 35-17.
How many times? I don't know if you and I talked about it. I like the score, by the way. I don't know if you and I talked about it on our last pod. I know we talked about it though. How many times over the last 2-3 years has the quarterback rolled out and hit Chris Olave within the red zone on the corner of the end zone? Why aren't we doing that more?
Better see another one of those touchdowns. They could probably run it twice.
If we're having that, who stays with any of our receivers? It doesn't even have to be Olave. Do it with Wilson,
Jackson Smith could do it.
Do it with him. Yeah, exactly. no one sticks with our receivers. Stroud, before the last 2 weeks, was really like throwing people open. And now it's like he's kind of scared to do so, or he's waiting for them, to get ahead of whoever their defender is. Like, you got to remember, they're even, they're leaving. So just, throw them open again like you were doing earlier in the year. But yeah, call that. I mean, it works like every time for Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else you want to go through tonight before we sign off?
No, sir. I hope for, really, really clean game. I think that's going to be the most important thing. Offensive line play clean.
Yeah.
Like no stupid pre-snap penalties.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of this stuff is going to start getting fixed. But I think it's going to be, you got some tough games coming up. So they might not necessarily result in plus 40 to 10-point wins. But, I think that they're going to start running the ball better. You're going to see, I think the offensive line is going to start performing to their expectations. And I think they'll start doing better in the red zone. Cause I think part of it is, I think now it's going to be such a challenge on day 2 that he's going to start really looking through his playbook and be like, what do we have in here that I can throw at teams that they haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I agree. So nope, nothing else. Let's get on out of here. So thank you everyone for stopping in tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO. Go Bucks.
Go Buckeyes. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added. And please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.